What's up, y'all? This is Lee from Pop Evil, and you're listening to the Thunder Underground. Turn it up.
Welcome to episode 407 of the Thunder Underground podcast. And this week is a great one because Leigh Kakaty of Pop Evil is on the podcast for the first time. Very happy to have Leigh joining me this week. We're going to talk about Pop Evil's brand new single, What Remains, what they've got coming, the path they've taken to get here, all kinds of stuff coming up here with Leigh. But first, I need to let you know who sponsors this podcast, and that would be DEB Concerts, concert promoter based right here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. They brought tons of great acts to this area, to the downtown club level, to the arena level. They booked the Roadhouse stage at Rocklahoma every year. Coming up here on November 30th at the Cain's Ballroom in Tulsa, Oklahoma, the Cancer Sucks benefit is going on, and it'll feature Quiet Riot. It'll be headlined by Stephen Pearcy, of course, the lead vocalist of Rat. Great event that happens every year. Cancer Sucks. DEB Concerts, of course, is sponsoring this event. Can't go wrong with this. Ticket information at Cain's Ballroom, debconcerts.com. This is coming up very soon, a little over a week, so be on the lookout for that. And of course, any other events coming up, follow DEB on their socials, DEB Concerts on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. And of course, we'll let you know right here anytime something new pops up as well. We've also got Sunset Tattoo Tulsa, tattoo shop located Midtown Tulsa. Their tattoos are done good and proper. Well over 25 years of experience from Jake Thompson and his crew over there. They're Native American owned, and they have a female artist on staff full time. If you have an idea that you're not sure how to bring together, give them a call. They can sit down with you. They can help bring your ideas to life. If you've got something already to go, of course, they can help you with that as well. So give them a call or a message to set up a time to sit down and talk what you're looking for. You can also hit up their socials, Facebook, Instagram, or both Sunset Tattoo Tulsa. There are tons of photos on there showing all their work throughout the years. I've had work done by Jake more than once. I'm very happy with it. I know many other people that have as well. So you need to now as well. So hit up Sunset Tattoo and tell them you heard about him right here on Thunder Underground. All right, so before I jump into this talk with Leigh, one thing of note I wanted to point out is that during this interview I mentioned to him that the first time I saw Pop Evil live, they were opening for Tesla. This was back in 2008, I believe, like right after maybe Pop Evil's debut album had come out. From what I heard, I liked him. I got the album after that, became a fan. Flash forward to now, whenever I did this interview with Leigh last week, the day I did the interview, I was going to see Tesla again. So I just thought that was kind of a funny roundabout thing that I mentioned to him, and he talks about Tesla a bit, but I'm bringing that up ahead of time is because I just wanted to speak on the concert shortly. I've talked about Tesla concerts many times throughout the years on this podcast because Tesla is the band I've seen more than any other artist in my lifetime, I believe. That show last week here in Tulsa at the Hard Rock Live at the Hard Rock Casino in Tulsa was the 30th time that I've seen them. Obviously, I don't think they ever disappoint or I wouldn't keep going back. They're one of my all-time favorite bands, obviously, which is why I keep going back. I actually hadn't seen them here in probably, I need to look up what the last time I saw them was, but it's been at least 3 or 4 years. There was a string of time where I've seen them at least a couple times a year, it seemed like. But so to finally get to see them again, it was cool because, the set list was a little mixed up. They had stuff in there. I say that, and then off the top of my head, well, they had 2 new songs. That's one thing of note that are going to be on an EP that is coming out next Friday, November 29th. All About Love is the name of the EP. I believe it's 2 new songs, and then there's also a few versions of those 2 new songs, so it's probably like a 6 to 8 song EP. So check that out if you're a Tesla fan. But more importantly, if Tesla is out touring in your area and you've ever been a fan or you're just a loose fan and you know some songs you've heard on the radio, be sure and get out there and see these guys live. They never disappoint. They're a well-oiled machine. They've been doing this for over 40 years. I mean, their debut album came out 38 years ago, and they were obviously touring and doing shows well before that with Tesla and their band prior to that, City Kids. So it's great that this band is still around, pumping out new music and putting on great live shows. So be sure and check out Tesla if you ever get the chance. Also, recently, a week or so before that, I saw Rise Against live for the first time. Rise Against, has been around for quite a while now, at least 20 years or more. They're a band that I didn't really get into outside of just, the surface level, like the singles, until about 2 years ago. And I don't know why. I always liked the singles I heard, but never delved into it. I'm just kind of shocked that it took me that long because, listening to their music and everything, they're definitely one of those bands I would have latched onto a long time ago. So I was excited to get the chance to see them. Did not disappoint live. It's exactly what you would expect to be, what you know about Rise Against. They're a very straightforward band when it comes to their lyrics and their message. Very much that kind of working man, power to the people kind of attitude. It gets political at times, but never obvious political the way some people do it. And it's very well balanced. And of course, live, they're great musicians and they full of energy. I saw this at the Cain's Barroom, and it was the most packed I'd seen the Cain's Barroom at a show I was at in quite a while. And, so it was just fun to see that many people all united, for some good, straightforward punk rock and roll. I mean, because there's only a handful of bands that can fill up clubs, playing punk rock, I feel like these days. You've got, them and, of course, the heavy hitters like Dropkick Murphys, Social Distortion's back out there touring. Now, I mean, outside of that, you've got the bigger ones like Green Day, if you consider that punk, whatever, but I digress. Rise Against is doing this. They're doing it well. They play a lot of the rock festivals as well, so another band that I'm just telling you, if you're into like really heavy stuff and you haven't given these guys a chance, give them a chance, Step outside of your comfort zone there for a minute. I think you'll dig what these guys are doing. Rise Against, another great concert I got the opportunity to see recently. All right, so with all that being said, let's just jump into this. Leigh from Pop Evil. Pop Evil has a new single out. It came out in late August called What Remains. They released a video for this song about, I believe, at the end of October maybe, so probably 3 weeks ago or so. Video's phenomenal. That's another thing we talk about here in the interview. Videos are something that Pop Evil has embraced throughout the years, and they've always put together like very high-end, movie quality looking videos, kind of like you used to see a lot of in the 90s from bands like Guns N' Roses and that kind of thing. Pop Evil has done that really well, and there's other bands that do it, but, a lot of us miss those things because if you're not one of those people that seek out music videos, you might miss it because it's not like it was, back in the day where that was kind of the way that you would see and hear new music outside of, your terrestrial radio. But nowadays, of course, all that's changed and there's a million ways to get your music. So check out Pop Evil's video for What Remains. I believe you'll dig it. I'm a huge fan of this song. I'm really looking forward to what new music they have coming in 2025 now after hearing this song. Leigh talks a lot about it, talks about the stuff coming up as well. So rather than me telling you what he talks about, let's jump into this so you can hear what he talks about. Here is Leigh from Pop Evil.
Yeah, the response to the new music has been incredible. I mean, it's almost like there's an anxious kind of excitement from our fan base for the new music, this new album, and What Remains being that first installment. It's been awesome to see it going over so well so early. I mean, we've only played about 10 shows, so to have the excitement that early, it's real positive. So definitely excited about the future and new music.
In an instance like this where it's been 10 shows, well, I guess this song had been out a couple months prior to these shows, but how long does it normally take for you to notice fan reaction to a new single in a live show?
It can take some minutes sometimes. I mean, obviously your core fans know it, but it takes a year, maybe sometimes two, for it to really become a powerful song in your set. And the songs from the last record, or this actually current Skeletons album, actually, I guess we're just finishing up that. those songs from the beginning of that album cycle are really starting to become, part of the public domain in a way, right? So I think early on, though, you gauge it differently. You gauge it by, obviously how many people are excited to sing the words, going back, interacting, moving to it. Because sometimes even when you don't know the music, the lyrics, you know the music, right? You can feel the music. So kind of seeing reaction from that standpoint is kind of where it first starts. And then of course, as the years go on, you can really see, when the lyrics start being sung and the emotion you can see in people's faces. That's when it really starts to set in. So I think it's kind of always growing. But at first, this early, it's always a good sign when there's a lot of positivity early on.
Well, the video for What Remains is, pretty spectacular in my opinion. It harkens, back to that vibe of, a film.
Thank
I
you.
mean, like a video being a short film.
Yeah,
Like,
thank you.
yeah, how much involvement do you guys have like in the video concepts, or is that always you've always left that up to directors, or are you guys like fully involved in that?
Yeah, I mean, well, it starts, I write kind of always thinking about a music video in mind, sometimes obviously every song's different, but for the most part, usually you have this music video in your head, and, I kind of, uh, I remember having meetings with the band and the management about it. They obviously were all about kind of where that would go. And when we had the opportunity to work with Sam Shapiro again, I mean, it's awesome with Sam. He's so incredible. He's such a visionary. I remember having a couple phone conferences with him. We just spend hours talking about, my ideas and concepts for the song and why it was written and where it came about. And then to see him kind of take it to a whole nother place. Obviously, budgets are a big part of that. You got to be able
Yeah.
to make sure you can pull as many of these things off as possible, cost efficient. And so when Sam kind of came up with these ideas, blending them with mine, it was just like, man. And sometimes when it's with the director, you don't always know. Obviously I know Sam's incredible, but he's got the vision in his head about what he can fulfill. So you kind of have to there's a lot of trust there, and I certainly trust Sam. I mean, he's one of my favorite, kind of just directors, just content. I mean, he does it all. I mean, he just everything he does. I'm such a big fan of, and so when he kind of told me his idea, I was like, look, I'm just going to let you take the wheel, and I trust you, and let's roll. And obviously, he delivered. Just on such an incredible level, and so excited to be a part of it. It was grueling, no doubt about it. But getting there and seeing the sets all set up and kind of just his team all pro and just getting everything dialed in. It was it was an awesome experience both on and off the stage, and just super proud of how it turned out, and just excited now to keep getting it out there and growing it and seeing where it goes from there.
I mean, that's got to be a great feeling to have someone you can trust like that, because I mean, you're basically giving them something that's uniquely yours and saying, make this your vision as well.
It's stressful, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Stressful, and obviously the more you work with someone, you again, budgets are a big part of that. It's not even about Sam. Sometimes it's like, okay, well, what are we going to be able to pull off here? What are we going to be able to afford? And budgets for rock bands and metal bands, whatever it is not always easy to get. So to be able to put that together and trusting Sam with that, so there's all kinds of stresses you're dealing with, but to have them be able to just really respect with the original respect to where the song's coming from, and to kind of add his own twists, and it's awesome. It just builds that confidence with each other working together, and you just kind of you kind of go, you kind of just trust it, hope for the best. And obviously when it exceeds your expectations, you're always like pleasantly surprised, but at the same time you're okay, great, let's do the next one. So
Yeah.
obviously our next one's coming out on the 22nd. It's amazing as well, so Sam certainly delivered again. So I can't wait for you to see that one, and just to get it out there where the fans can enjoy it as well.
As far as What Remains go, this was produced by Cody from Wage War. I assume you guys were friends prior to this, but how did the collab come about?
Yeah, well, I know Cody and I talked about kind of writing together on the last record, and we just couldn't. I think he had a couple tracks I was listening to. I kind of wanted to start fresh with him, and so we pushed it off to this album. And obviously, as busy as he is, was really grateful that we found the time to create some opportunities to work together, and just awesome. I mean, he's just so in tune, obviously being with what he's doing with Wage War, and just in tuned in the scene, and where I want to push Pop Evil in the future. And he's just spot on with just his support and his direction. And it was crazy. We did one song, I think we did Enough Is Enough, which is on the album as well. And then I was like, well, look, I need something a little more like this or that. And next thing you know, he spun me some of the riffs that ended up becoming What Remains. And I think I wrote the song in 20 minutes. So it was just,
Wow.
can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, sorry, I think I hit the wrong button. But no,
Okay.
he did two on the album with me.
Oh, okay. So, speaking of the album, like what's the status of of the album? Like, has it been do you guys have a release date and a final?
No release dates yet.
Okay.
We still got a little touch up to do. So hopefully if we can get it dialed in, we're hoping in early spring. If not, then the pushbacks come from there. But hopefully as long as we can everything keeps going as it's been going, hopefully I'm shooting for the positive, right? Hopefully spring. But hopefully next year at some point for sure.
Okay. You've spoken about like in the press release and previous interviews about, the shift in the heaviness on, this album and everything. When you talk about going from your first singles and like Hero and 155 to what remains now, you can definitely hear that progression, obviously, from everything you guys have done. But like, how would you describe the trajectory since Lipstick on a Mirror came out to where we're at right now?
Yeah, I mean it was a different time, right? I mean it's a different time at radio. We were a radio band, so in those days heavier music it was harder to get played. So it was we're just different, it just where you're at, different band members at the time. We've had some evolution with the band members, people come and go. I mean, we've been doing this almost 20 years, so it's just things change and you evolve as musicians, right? Like I think when we started with Lipstick on the Mirror, I mean we were rookies in the studio. I mean we didn't even know anything about technology. It was just hey, we played our guitars and sang the song, whatever it
Yeah.
was is what it was. And I mean, there's people in the fans that love that rawness to Pop Evil back then, and I respect that. That's awesome. But now, with just who we are as musicians, obviously thousands of shows since the first early days. It's just, we want to grow this band. I mean, and in this day and age of rock and metal, it's a different era, right? It's
Yeah.
social media. It's not like there's TV and exposures to get younger, youthful audiences to just keep going. You have to be able to tap into some of this youthfulness to keep your band young and rolling. And to do that is you have to be in tune to what these not only just younger fans are listening to, but what these younger bands are doing. It's more than ever. Cody's a great example. Like what these newer bands are doing, they're so smart. Then they're smarter in a different way than when we grew up, right? Like we were still kind of the last remnants of like, oh yeah, the record deal is gonna like, label's gonna do a lot for you. No, these band
Yeah.
members now and these bands are doing a lot themselves. You don't need that. You don't rely on that, right? So they're learning that they're buying up. First of all, the technology is better, right? Like
Yeah.
you don't just have to record that one guitar tone. You can mess with thousands of different guitar tones. I mean, that's how a guy like, Cody is so talented. I mean, he not only is he a phenomenal musician and on-stage performer, but he's such an unbelievable engineer. I mean, he knows how to like manipulate the sounds and to make his guitar tones sound differently and make sure he stacks them the right way and just he's not afraid to take chances. And that's the thing I love about the youthful bands that I love and I'm a fan of. It's just they're not afraid to be themselves and explore. I mean, look, from Pop Eagles' perspective, we've been blessed. We've had so much success. We've had so many hit songs, but we can only play those songs once in a set list, if at all. So we want to make sure we keep growing and give our fan base. And we'd rather have that fan go, wow, like looking from where they started to where they are. I mean, they've grown. We don't want to play the same. We don't want to write the same album, 8, 9, 10 times. I mean, it defeats the purpose. And we already did that. So, I mean, from a personal journey of what you're trying to do and accomplish in your career, I mean, you got to grow. You got to step out. And the way to do that is to learn by the next generation. You got to learn by those younger, not always those that are older. You know what I mean? People that are younger and on the come up have a lot more to teach you in so many different ways. And when you open your mind to that, it's amazing, what you can create. And sounds like what remains are creative. I mean, I would have never thought that would be in my catalog all those years ago, but now that it is, so grateful. And it certainly adds a more fun element to what we do live. And our live show is just, it's the best it's ever been. I mean, we're definitely all about just honing in our live skills, making that experience with Pop Evil when you come see us live even that much more enjoyable for our fan base, so we can grow the audience. I mean, you have to take the responsibility on our own to do the things that we need to do, be diligent about putting those into effect, not just talking about them, and then making sure when people do come out and take the time to see us, especially this new generation of Pop Evil fans, that we deliver and they leave going, wow, that wasn't what I thought. I mean, I thought I was expecting this, but look what I got. I mean, those are some of the best compliments you love to hear. So it's just about always just trying to just raise that bar. And sometimes that heavy element now has become, I mean, you look at the Danny Wimmer festivals, these festivals now, it's all rock has become more metal has become more, I mean, it's all
Yeah.
infused, right? It's all infused. And it's exciting. I mean, who wants to go to a festival and listen to a bunch of ballads? Like
Yeah.
no one wants to do that. So, I mean, like, it just, there's a time and a place for ballads. There's a time and a place for us to do some of that stuff. But for now, we really want to work on our brand and remind fans that look, we're not going anywhere. To be honest, it's the tip of the iceberg for Pop Evil. We really believe that the best is yet to come for our band. I mean, we're grateful for the success, but we're a totally different band, man. I mean, it's just a totally different thing about what we're trying to do to really come after the business. I mean, we're not sitting here waiting around anymore. You know, we're like, look, we got to go accomplish our own things and put it on ourselves to kind of take what we want from this business and then get the hell out of here. You know what I mean? So that's kind of our vibe, our mentality. I mean, we're not the rookies anymore. We've been here. We've done this long enough. We've had success and we've had failures, and we don't want to go back down those roads of the things we failed at. We want to really focus on the things that we enjoy doing and focus on, trying to have more successes and more wins for a band and certainly the band members on and off the stage and our team, our crew. And just again, putting in that live experience putting that best live experience forward. So, we can continue to do this for as long as we're blessed to do it and just keep growing at all times.
Have you noticed that shift in the fan base? Like, do you have people coming up to you telling you they got into you, like, say with Versatile or something more recent than, someone saying, I got into you, like, during Lipstick in the Mirror. Just like, when did you notice that shift?
Yeah, it's definitely starting. I mean, you're starting to see that since Versatile album for sure. I mean, obviously we want to respect our older fan base that's been there from the beginning because we do still play some of the songs live. Absolutely, I mean, like it's going to get tougher and tougher, obviously, as we do more albums. But that's the fun of it, right? That juggling that dynamic that is old school pop evil with new and blending that is our identity, and we're not embarrassed or ashamed of where we came from. I mean, everyone has a story, right? So, but balancing that and then, being I guess respectful to where we're going in the future and what we're trying to build here is, I mean, it's exciting. It makes it fun, right? And if you're having fun, that fun energy it exudes on it transcends to the stage, and the fans really soak that up. So yeah, you're definitely starting to see those early signs of people being like, wow, I forgot. Or even one I read last night, this guy was like, wow, I feel bad. I didn't give Pop Evil enough respect. I wasn't really feeling the name or what for whatever reason. And he's like, I was there last night, man. It was unbelievable, man. I feel bad that I didn't give this band a try. So again, people are busy. People are living their lives, man. They the last thing in their priority list sometimes is what being loyal to a band that they like or don't like. So it's so important to when you do get those moments where you do get to play in front of someone, you just never know who's watching and you never know. And that's the cool thing about music, right? Like people are allowed to hate you yesterday and they're allowed to love you today. I mean, think about you yourself. Tons of bands I hated growing up, but then I saw them, I was like, oh, I love this band.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to give anybody any explanation. Like, fuck it. I don't need to give you any explanation why I didn't like that band yesterday or I like them today. I just do.
Absolutely.
I think about Kid Rock and Eminem. I hated both of them when they started. They just pissed me off. But the more I watched them, the more I was like, and of course, you named my two favorite artists, Kid Rock and Eminem, my favorite. Just because, they stood the test of time. They kept grinding. They proved it. Album in, album out, single out, single that they just kept grinding. And obviously, there's a lot of Michigan pride in there, just being from the state. So,
Right.
but I just think that's the beautiful thing about this business is like you don't have to be like today, but there's always a tomorrow. You know what I mean? So as long as you pick your head up, you dive in and you're ready to work, I mean, anything's possible, man. So, I mean, and Jelly Roll's another great example. I mean, he's been on the climb for so long and, now his positivity. I mean, there's so many artists even around us today that are having so much success that just kept after it, man.
Yeah.
I mean, he'll himself tell you the story about how, dude, I was here this whole time. No one didn't give a shit. Now all of a sudden, bam, you know what I mean? But it takes a minute for the world to catch up. It takes a minute for people to catch up and like your band and you have to deliver. So there's no guarantee, but we keep climbing. We just have to focus on what we're good at. And we keep doing that, then, the stars fall where they may. And if they don't fall where they may, then guess what? Our mamas love us. It's all good, man. It's all
Right.
good. Who cares, man?
Well,
It doesn't gotta be hard.
yeah, for sure. But besides the heaviness that you've spoken about, you also recently stated that the new album is gonna be the most lyrically raw you've ever been. Like, what
100%.
is it that's kind of pushed you
Yeah.
in that direction of, being more open with your lyrics?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think just the reality sets in, right, at some point in your career that like, okay, I mean, this would be our eighth album. I've done so many things pushed. I mean, I've written about myself early on in my career. I've written about other people. I've written about fans. I've written about past experiences. And I just think there's a lot of I had a lot more struggles with mental health than I think I like to admit. I think a lot of us singers, we do, what's the right word? We do kind of, live in an ego world in a way where you just forget sometimes about yourself. Like you just, oh yeah, it's all good. And I don't mean necessarily a cocky, arrogant way. You're not used to like really thinking about yourself in those ways, right? You're just worried about everyone else. You're leading a team, right? You're leading a face of a brand. So you don't have time always to think about your depression, and you can't slow the whole thing down. If I start getting sad or depressed about something, I mean, that would be over. You know what I mean? So I don't really have time to really kind of cleanse some of the stuff that's really sat with me for all these years. So this album with the song "What Remains," when we sat down to write the album, I didn't know. Every album's a little bit like what's going to come out. Try to shut your eyes, see what comes out, see what goes on, see what kind of cleanse happens. And it took a few songs. I think 3 or 4 songs were written before What Remains, and then What Remains was written. And it just kind of all stemmed around that song. It was like, oh my gosh, like I got to let this out. And then there was kind of hesitation. I don't want to write about myself. To talks with the band, the managers. We're like, look, this could be really therapeutic for you. You should do this. We should explore this. And as we started to dive in more, it just felt like a very natural progression for me. I was starting to get, I guess I was just getting lighter in a way. It just felt like a lot of weight was being lifted, all the stuff, even COVID that we've all dealt with. I mean, there was a lot for every band, but for me personally, there was a lot of, baggage that built up, a lot of stuff that was just kind of still lingering that needed to kind of come out. And what a great opportunity to have a band and to have a platform like that to be able to express myself and let that out. And hopefully, help other people that might be dealing with similar issues that can relate, and they can, hopefully get themselves in a position where they can feel a little bit lighter as well. And it just felt like it was just the right move, and super proud of it. And I'm obviously nervous as well. Obviously, whenever you make art and you put it out there in the world, it's always stressful in a way, but it's exciting at the same time. So looking forward to this album finally being released and to whatever the next chapter that it takes us.
Another addition to this album will be Blake Allison. This will be his first, recordings with the band. So, like, what do you feel he's brought to the band different than his predecessors?
Yeah, Blake is a whole different ballgame, man. I mean, it's first of all, he's one of my favorite people in this business. I mean, I looked up to him for years. I'm a big fan of what him and Joey, our bass player, have done with their other projects with Devour the Day and Egypt Central. I mean, the fact that they dealt with so much adversity and are still climbing and have always found the positive and the way to still, eat and still actually put food on their table for themselves and the family is just such a testament to their drive and their passion about their struggles and climb in this business and they're just their resilience. So to have Blake as a friend before he was in the band, just to kind of have him as an ally and to just kind of sing and talk. Obviously, he's a singer, so to be able to relate, have someone that you can talk to that's also a singer could be. And we all came on the scene around the same time, so he understands the struggle and how radio's evolved, and radio's changed, and the struggle for being around 18 plus years. You got to kind of evolve. You got to kind of you got to shapeshift a bit. You got to make sure that you stay relevant. You got to fight. Got to fight. So when it came up, the opportunity, for a new drummer, I didn't know at first, because I'm like, well, look, I want someone that's very committed to Pop Evil. I don't know what Blake says if he's down. So Blake called me, and he goes, I want the gig, and I'm like, are you sure though? Like, here's my deal, straight up. I need you with Pop Evil. What's top for Pop Evil? But obviously, I support you in all you do, always, And he goes, nope, I'm with you. No problem. I'm going to be there. I want it. And it was just like, well, then you're hired. There was no other option once Blake. I mean, we had that discussion pretty early when we found out we needed a new drummer. So there was never really any kind of, um, any anxiety with that. But of course, now we gotta, we got to put the work in now. So, but once Blake now, and as he started to really dive into the project, obviously has been around this whole writing of this new album. It just feels so. It feels like it's always was supposed to be like it, And he's such a great human being, and he's so kind, and he's just so smart. He's to have someone in the band. We've never really had someone who's a great engineer and a tech person as much as he is, and he's just totally helped us bring this live show to a whole nother level. Things that I've always wanted to do that I don't necessarily know how to do. He's been able to kind of teach me, educate me, him and Joey as well. Joey's been phenomenal, but to have those two guys as brothers now as the core of the rhythm section in Pop Evil, I mean, it will, if we do accomplish and get to that next level, whatever that is, they will be a big part of that. There's no doubt about it.
Well, I mean, you mentioned, a few times the changes throughout the years, and, now you've got Blake and Joey. Like, what is it about you and Dave that has, been kind of that core that's been able to ride this whole thing through?
Yeah, I mean, Nick's in that core too, right? Nick kind of came in just a little bit after Dave and all, but it's just, Dave and Nick and I are so close. We obviously we've been through hell and back, when you've been with those ride or dies. I mean, we haven't always been pretty. We're like brothers, right? So we fought over the years, and we've made up, and we've high-fived, and we've hugged it out. And I just think that it's a testament of the three of us how bad we want it, right? Like there's never been any of the jealousies or the competition with our positions. It's just I think we've always battled on what we wanted to accomplish, man. We all want it so bad to get to whatever that get to that headline status where we can headline on a more consistent level. That seeing eye to eye sometimes has been challenging, but once again COVID hit, we were able to kind of like just lay it all on the table. It's like, look, do we all really want to do this anymore? Like, is this cool? And of course, the three of us sat down. We're like, yeah, dude, we're here. Let's roll. So, then bringing Joey kind of came in just after COVID, and then it's a progression, right? It was almost like a 3 album cycle. So the first Joey's there in COVID. That's the versatile album. We're getting heavier. Next thing you know, Skeletons, we're pushing it even heavier, seeing where we can go. And because you can't just do that for our band. You can't just do that night and day. You don't want to lose any fans. I mean, fans are hard to come by in this world. You don't want to just alienate anybody. I mean, that's not it. But you want to grow. So it's kind of an evolution. And the last album, Skeletons, got a little heavier, got a little dark, and not just with music, the content. And then so that now Blake comes into this one. This is the heaviest, certainly the darkest from a lyrical and musical standpoint, and now it's kind of there's that cementing. I mean, we're the tightest we've ever been as far as both on and off the stage. I mean, we've never been closer, and that's all. We've always been close, but like bands aren't always close. It's kind of like work
Yeah.
buddies. Like how many times you go hang out with your friends at work? We,
Right.
we never really hung before. Now we're hanging. Now we do our things. So it's interesting off the stage. There's an element of respect we have for each other that just wasn't there before. You know what I mean? And I think when you have that, the stage is set for you to have more fun. I mean, we're all grateful for the show we're putting on at the moment here on the Animal Instinct tour, and we're stoked that we almost got like we're calling it this is our second shot. This is our second chapter here. Let's go write it. So I mean, we're all for the first time in my career, we're all fighting for the same thing. So with that, there's a lot of refreshing conversations and just vibes on the bus. I mean, it's just this everyone's everyone's put the booze and the party away. I mean, everyone's rock star focused and try to accomplish something and be a part of something special that we can talk about with our kids years from now. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's definitely a lot of work and it's a lot of challenges ahead. But we're ready to fight them face on and be open to the people and the men we are and the men we're becoming and let's put out the best music forward. And those that want to listen, great. Those that don't, hey, go for it, dude. Don't listen to them. You know what I mean? Like it's all good, dude. Like you know what I mean? Like we just want to play the music for the people that want to enjoy it and start winning them over one at a time, starting tonight.
I mean, you just mentioned the tour with Bad Wolves. Like, how do you feel you guys complement each other in the live setting?
That's great. I mean, Bad
Yeah.
Wolves is phenomenal. It's obviously tons of radio hits as well. Great guys. I mean, they're going through the same kinds of things we're going through. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's it's an evolution, right? Like struggle. I mean, it's not always pretty. I mean, people come and go, things change with your band, but you have to keep evolving. You have to keep growing, and they're very resilient group of guys. You can tell they want it too. They're fighting. I mean, great performers. I love their fans. I mean, what more do you want than nothing but respect for something like that? I mean, they want the same things we want. I mean, it's an awesome tour, and I think for the fans, they get the I mean, when do you get to come out and hear that many radio hits in one place for that kind of price point? It's just if you're into the radio and you like radio bands and you like and some of these songs, I mean, you're crazy not to at least give it a chance. And it's a great show. It's not just a bunch of dudes up there sitting around, and the opening bands are incredible as well. And it's been awesome. And kudos to Bad Wolves for not being down on anything. They just keep their grind and they keep their nose to the grind and push forward, and they rock, man, no doubt about it.
Right on. Well, random coincidence for you. The first time I saw you live was in like '08 or '09. You were opening for Tesla. And I'm
Oh, right on.
mentioning that because I'm going to see Tesla tonight and I'm talking to you today. So,
Oh, dude, that's so cool. Congrats. That's a cool story. I mean, I obviously love Tesla. How can you not? They're so amazing.
yeah, I
A
mean,
lot of lessons we use to this day from that tour. They're just such great guys.
obviously, it turned me on to you guys. I think I'd heard 155 prior to going to the show, maybe. But
Sure.
do you think touring with a band from a different era like that kind of helped you guys any in the long run?
Oh, dude, it does. And then we did a couple. I think in 2010 too. We did the Judas Priest and the
Oh,
White
yeah.
Snake tour.
Yeah.
So I mean, those legendary tour. And in 2017, we just recently, well, I guess not that recently now, but it was Poison and Cheap Trick. So I mean, it was just when you tour with those legendary bands, man. I mean, you just number one, it helps the dream, right? Because personally, everyone says, I think I've heard it a million times when you tour with bands like that, Tesla, like no one, the comment is from the internal band member side is like, man, I never thought in my wildest dreams I'd tour with these guys. It's amazing. You know what I mean? Because we're all fans.
Yeah.
So, so that always is such a cool vibe when you're with uh those bigger bands. And then of course the way they tour, right? Like the way they hold themselves, the way they treat their crews, the way they set up their stage, the way they flow, the ebb and flow that is a tour day. You learn a lot about how the pros do it. You know what I mean? That's how it's done. So it's definitely, and of course you get to dream with the aspect when you see those fans singing those songs back all the night. You know those fans not only have been there for 30 plus, but some of them are next generation, right? They're bringing their kids to a show, and it's where you want to retire to, man. You hope that one day when you do retire, you can still play shows and people are going to still come see you play. So it's just it's to me that nostalgia is a big part of it, and it's definitely helped motivate us to get to see the end game and try to keep climbing. Otherwise, it gets really easy to give up and quit and just I'm over it or get
Yeah.
selfish about yourself in this business. Real easy that if you forget, especially as a front man, like what you're really writing music for, because you're writing music for other people. That means you have to respect other people's ideas, thoughts, and hopefully be around for other people to be able to enjoy you and what the good Lord's blessed you with your whole career, so you can give it back, right? That's the point. You want to give this music back and share it with people. And sometimes you get really easy to get twisted and you take it away from yourself. So we want to just make sure we stay focused and seeing those legendary bands as a testament of, guys like putting their differences aside and staying together a long period of time and really doing what matters. And it's just making it about the music.
Absolutely. All right, man. Well, I'm loving what's remains, and I can't wait to hear the new music you guys have coming. And I really appreciate you taking the time with me today.
Oh man, my pleasure, man. I can't wait for you to hear the new record, and hopefully we'll do the interview down the road with some more of the new music once you've heard it.
Sounds great, man. Appreciate it.
Awesome, man. Enjoy Tesla tonight. We'll talk then again soon.
There you go, Leigh Kakaty of Pop Evil, founding member, lead vocalist. Long time now, 20 plus years now in that band. It's been now, 16 years since their debut album came out. They've got 7, I believe, albums under their belt now. Another one coming this next, hopefully spring, like you just heard there. This album is out right now, or this single is out right now, What Remains. You can check it out wherever you stream music. Check out the video as well. A huge thank you to Tim from Adam Splitter PR for his help setting that one up, and of course his continued support of this podcast. And of course a massive thank you to Leigh for taking some time out of his day there while Pop Evil was on tour to hit me up on Zoom and talk about everything Pop Evil has going on and coming and everything in between. Great chat there with Leigh, and like he said there at the end, hopefully we can make that happen again down the line when more new music comes. So if this is your first time listening and you're just discovering this because you're a fan of Pop Evil, there's 406 previous episodes to this you could check out. Bands in that genre I've had on LeJean and John Connolly separately. Of Seven Dust have both been on here. 2 members of Corrosion and Conformity have been on here. RJ, the drummer for Hellstorm, has been on here. John Cooper of Skillet. Members of Shinedown, Trapped, Breaking Benjamin. The list is great and long, my friends. It includes everything across the board. Hard rock, metal. I talked about Tesla there in the interview, and previous to the interview, Frank Cannon of Tesla has been on here 4 times. Brian Wheat of Tesla has also been on. I've had on other members of that genre like Jeff Tate of Queensryche, Dee Snider of Twisted Sister, Michael Monroe of Hanoi Rocks, Glenn Hughes of Deep Purple, Black Country Communion, The Dead Daisies, and a million other things. One of the greatest voices of all time has been on the podcast twice. Gene Simmons of Kiss, Dizzy Reed of Guns N' Roses, members of Typo Negative, The Black Dahlia Murder, Megadeth, Testament. John Waite of Bad English has been on here. Shooter Jennings and Vanilla Ice have both been on here. So the list is great and long. TheThunderUnderground.com. You can listen directly there. You can also listen pretty much anywhere podcasts are heard, whether that be Spotify, Apple Music, SoundCloud, Mixcloud, all the different clouds, I would assume. So wherever you're listening right now, follow, like, subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. Coming up, got some fun stuff coming. It'll be announced once it's finalized, but in the meantime, be looking for that. We are now entering the final stretch of 2024, which is weird to say, right? It's already here. So the best of 2024 episode will be coming here before you know it as well. Got a couple interviews in the works as well. So follow all the socials so you don't miss anything upcoming. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. I think that covers it. I'm on YouTube as well. Randomly, stuff will go on there. So follow anywhere that you see Thunder Underground. If you see a post, if you just like it or comment or share, that's a huge help. I've also got merch and all that great stuff for sale. So hit us up, comment about anything you heard on this episode or any other episode, blah, blah, blah. What you want to see coming, all that great stuff. What you're looking forward to in 2025, what your favorite music was of 2024. It's all fair game. Looking forward to talking to you guys coming up shortly. And once again, a huge thank you to DB Concerts, Sunset Tattoo, Adam Splitter PR, and of course Leigh from Pop Evil. And until next time.
Thunder Underground, y'all.